All right, you're good to go.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Manhattan CB4 Nomination Committee. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and/or an extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joined via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and a transcription is being recorded. Good evening, my name is Alice Wong. I am the chair of the 2025 Nomination Committee. I'm going to ask the remainder of my committee to go around and introduce themselves, please.
Hi, Rodney Washington, member.
Greg Morris, member.
Tina Nelson, member.
Karen Keenan, member.
Thank you, everyone. Tonight's nomination committee will be reviewing candidates for our positions for the 2026 year. They are chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, and co-reporting secretaries. We do have one individual who will be joining us via Zoom, and our other candidates will be meeting us in person. We have also one candidate who needed to provide his written answers in advance due to a medical request. And so this committee has preset questions in advance prior to meeting, and we are going to review the questions now, and each of the committee members will select a question to ask all of our interviews. And we're going to ask the interviewees in the order that they arrive outside the lobby. We see a few of them now. Hi, guys. I know you're watching on YouTube. Okay, so we have some questions that we have preset. The first question is, reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year, and why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the role at this time? The second question is, what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on, and how can your personnel and professional experience support these efforts? Number three, are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board? Four, how would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from differing opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for both new and existing members? And then five, what are your thoughts on current board communication to the public? What are your suggestions for improving communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large, long-term district projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts to the public? And so our responsibility is to interview the candidates and make sure they meet the criteria to be in the role that they're applying for. After we interview all the candidates, our committee will go into a closed session for discussions. We will come back on and make a vote that will be open to the public for viewing. I know our first candidate is supposed to be joining us via Zoom due to a time difference. I don't actually see her on there right now, so we're hoping that she can come on soon. But while we're waiting for that, committee members, would you like to grab which question you would like to ask?
Would it be more organized if
Here's
you
Katie.
went versus scattered?
Sure. Okay, which direction shall we go?
You want to go first?
I can ask one, sure.
I'll ask two.
I'll ask three, four.
I love when we're all in agreement with everything. It's easy peasy. Hi, Katie. Thanks for joining us. We hope you're having a wonderful time on your holiday trip. We appreciate you taking time out your holiday to meet with us.
Well, thank you for making the time. Thanks, guys. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person.
That's okay. We're glad to have you. So we just want to first say,
I was gonna make you host, Alice, and I'll let you take over, okay?
okay, thanks.
Great.
So Katie, if you can introduce yourself and what position you're applying for, and then we're going to get right into the questions.
Okay, so I'm Katie Stokes. I am currently one of the co-secretaries, but I am applying to be first vice chair.
Thank you. So we each have a question that we're going to ask you.
Okay.
Mine is, reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year, and do you believe or why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the role at this time?
So I think one thing that I'm really good at is knowing when I don't know something. And I really am good at asking questions. And being perfectly willing to acknowledge, I'm just not up to speed on something. And to not just take the first answer that comes, and if I still don't understand it, to just ask again, right? And I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I think I'm good at asking questions. And I also think that I'm very sort of comfortable, speaking publicly and just trying to learn. And I think we just have so much expertise on the board that I love hearing from other people and also obviously from our community members. And why do I think that I would be good in this position? Well, professionally, when I was a lawyer, I actually was in charge of running board meetings for a bunch of non-US affiliates. And so I spent a ton of time running meetings. And then later I was a CEC member and I was elected to be PTA president of a huge school for many years. Anyway, so I've led a lot of meetings, but also I have to say, I just love nothing more basically than a just straightforward non-drama meeting. When I was PTA president, I said, I just love me a good, boring meeting. I just like to stay focused on things and not let meetings get out of hand. I love process. I love Robert's Rules of Order. So I'm just good at running meetings. I think another thing that makes it a little bit helpful is that I have no political aspirations in New York City. I really enjoy being on the board. I'm happy to run it. I'm happy to let all the committee co-chairs or the committee chairs really sort of take the lead on issues. But I'm also perfectly comfortable saying, okay, well, now if we need somebody to go speak at a hearing or whatever, and one of the chairs, co-chairs, or committee chairs can't do it, I'm happy to do it and comfortable doing it. So I just have a lot of respect for people on the committee, and I feel like this is a way that I can contribute.
Thank you. Lonnie's gonna be asking our next question.
Hi,
Okay.
Katie.
Hey,
Great to see you.
lovely to
Um,
see you.
Great. So my question is, what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on, and how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts?
Well, as I think we all know that one of the things that's just taken so much time and focus and is going to need a lot more is sort of the NYCHA stuff that's going on in our district and affordable housing. I mean, we're super fortunate to have such a strong housing plan, but there is so much building going on and so many efforts that we have to continue to make sure that our residents' voices are being raised in a really effective way. But we also, I think, really have to understand, we are part of, quasi-city government, and we really have to work with our city government leaders and state leaders and be ready to advocate, for the residents. But also, I think at the end of the day, it is actually important to realize that we can't just be the voices of the squeakiest wheel. We have to make sure that we can really reach out and try and hear and understand everybody's perspective. And I think that is actually one of my strengths too, is to just keep asking and trying to figure out sort of what both sides are. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of times when people are like, no, it's cut and dried. There's one clear answer and the other one is bad. And as a lawyer, I'm trained to, you got to understand both sides, and never is it that clear, But it is important that we understand everybody's issues so that we can advocate as effectively as possible. So anyway, I think it has a lot to do with the housing and all of the construction and building that's going on.
Thank you.
Don't tell the other committee chairs that I said that theirs wasn't the most important.
You're in trouble because the next chair is asking you the next question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but he is Chelsea Landry, so he's okay.
As chairman of Chelsea Landry,
Has nothing to do with us.
Night job, huh? Okay, question number 3. Are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from this board?
Did you say regular attention?
Greater attention or visibility.
Greater, oh, sorry, okay, thank you. Yes, I do think, we talk or we hear from the community that there are a lot of concerns about public safety. And I know that that's sort of a sticky wicket, about sort of how to focus on those issues without stepping on individual different toes of various precincts or that sort of thing. But I really do think that there is a way, and I know that other community boards have found a way to focus on public safety issues. I actually think we're super fortunate that there's been really tremendous progress in our community board district, but I do think we need to figure out a way to have more of a conversation and be able to hear from more of our community members about their concerns about public safety and how we can help make sure that their concerns are being addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey there.
Right, the next question. How would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from differing opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for both new and existing members?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. I think it's been super helpful to be on the committee with Rodney and Rachel and thinking about how we foster some of those initiatives and to make sure that we are listening to each other and how do we make new board members feel included while respecting the sort of the history that our longer serving board members bring. And I do think especially because we're all volunteers, like we really have to be grateful that all of these people are willing to bring their time and their energy to this effort. And I do think that we need to have more people spending more time engaged. Like, I actually think every committee before it ends should say to the entire committee, what issues would you like to see raised? Like, what would you like to see on the agenda in the next month or two, right? Like, not to always have it be just the committee chairs, because I think if we hear more voices about what direction to head, I think it's super helpful. I think that we need to make sure that when there is disagreement, Jessica does such a good job at saying it before every meeting, but it can't just be sort of what we say, but it really has to be how we all act, that we can really disagree with each other. And, that's what I spend a lot of time doing professionally, strongly disagreeing with each other, but then really being able to respect each other, like know that we are all doing our best. And even if somebody really disagrees with you, you can still go out and, enjoy their company afterwards and know that at the next meeting that they're going to be bringing their best energy to it too. And when that's not happening, then we really just have to get everybody into a room together and say, hey, listen, we need to talk this out because we are a group who needs to be collaborative and we have to work together and we can't just be, furious with each other or assuming that some people are more right than other people. We can do it. I have complete faith. There was a lot of drama and some of the other boards that I've been on. And I just said, guys, let's make our meetings. I just insisted that we make our meetings more boring. That's what I kept saying. I want our meetings to be more boring, where there isn't all of this anger. So you know what? We're all just going to sit down and we're going to hash it out. And there is a way to do that. So anyway, I have faith in us. But it doesn't, I have to say, when people start to yell, it doesn't freak me out. And but I am very, what's confident and firm about the way that people have to treat each other. And if we have, as I said, and if we have to get in a room together, then we get in a room together. That's okay. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I think. You're welcome.
Hi, Katie, you have the last question.
I don't know whose voice that is, but hello.
Well, you can't see me?
No.
It's Carrie.
Oh, hey, Carrie.
How are you?
Good.
Hi, Owl. I'm just trying to get the owl's attention.
Oh, I can see you waving now. Okay, at the back of the room. Okay, hello.
Right, okay, here's the
It's
question.
funny though, because now I can see Tina in the center of my screen, whereas when she was asking the question, I saw Greg. So I think it's just sort of circulating slowly.
Okay, hold on.
Oh,
Coming
hello
close.
there. I see your shoulder.
I'm coming. Better?
It's
Yes.
moving. There it is, look.
Yeah.
Now I can see you, Carrie. Hello.
Here's the question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on current board communications to the public? What are your suggestions for improving communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large, long-term district projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts?
Yeah. This is a tricky one because I do think that we need to what I think would be great is if we could get super, super short summaries out. You know, these are the highlights of like 6 highlights of what was voted on at last night's meeting or what was discussed at last night's meeting. I think that sort of thing, but they have to be short. And I know how tricky it can be to consolidate language so that it's accurate and short, but still informative. And I know that, frankly, that's really time consuming. So, you know, that would be something that would, I think, be falling more on the staff, which I know they're already have lots of jobs. So, you know, I would love that to be something that I think that is the kind of thing that the first vice chair could help with. But if we could just get regularly out and on the website so that people can go and not have to dig through lots and lots of stuff, but can just see what's being addressed and sort of what the highlights are, I think that would be great. So I do think that we can be better at it. And you know, I always go to the website because there is so much information on there, but you kind of have to know where to look and you have to dig a bit. So if we can try and simplify that a little bit, I think it would be lovely without overwhelming anybody's schedule.
Thanks, Katie.
Katie, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your time. That's all the questions we have for you. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
All right. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye.
Great. So we are going to move forward to the next candidate. Do you want the front of this? Who you are, even though I saw you writing that, but just in case you need the front.
Wait, hey, questions 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, because I saw you writing the 4, because yours was like 2
Because I
pages.
asked the
Yeah.
question for.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. This is the first page.
Yeah.
Got it, of 2.
Got it, thank you.
All right, so
I have it on 1 page if it's helpful.
I think Leslie was first here, so and we grab Leslie.
You want?
Yeah.
It's like the price is right, they're like, come on.
Hi, yes, have a seat. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming.
Of course, I'm just gonna turn my name off.
Okay, so we're just gonna ask you to introduce yourself and then who you are and then what position you're running for, and then we have a list of questions ready to go.
Sure. My name is Leslie Bogosian Murphy. I am currently the co-chair of Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee. I'm also currently the first vice chair, and I am running to be chair of the board for it.
Thank you,
I think that's the
Leslie.
first time I said it out loud,
Yeah.
actually. Thank you.
Thank you. At the first question. Reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year? And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the chair role at this time?
I think that's a good question, and I was, looking back on what questions you would ask and what, how I would prepare. And that one, actually, I was looking a lot on like how I felt I did. Because you know, sometimes you feel either you're doing really well and then you're like, "Oh, I'm not sure," and sometimes it's the opposite. You feel like, wow, you know, I'm not sure that was great. And everyone's like, no, you were fine. But looking back, I gotta say, I'm really proud of, and I'll reference my time as co-chair of Waterfront Parks and Environment, because I think we were really in the muck a lot this year with the Manhattan Cruise Terminal and a lot of things that were going on. I'm extremely proud of my work with Marty, who is my co-chair on Waterfront Parks and Environment. I'm really proud how we handled our committee. I'm really proud how we handled our new people and onboarding them. I'm really proud of the work we're doing. Now we're getting this big, huge project. It seems like every committee has a big, huge project. There's NYCHA, there's Port Authority, you know, now there's Manhattan Cruise Terminal. So I would say how I'm doing is, I think, reflective of growth, of coming up from each position I had before. I think I'm a very, very different person. You know what? I'm a very, very different community board member I am now than I was maybe 5 years ago. So, and what was the second part of that question? I'm
And
sorry.
why do you believe you're a strong
What?
candidate for the chair?
So I think it's really, I think a lot of it is that I think it's multifaceted. I think everyone can come here and say it's experience, right? You know, I did this, so I'm good at this. I did this, so I'm good at this. And I do think there is truth to that, because I think you do grow as you get into these positions. I mean, budget task force, I keep saying this to everyone, budget task force is the biggest learning curve, the best thing you can do on the community board if you really want to get a hold of every single committee and what everyone does. And I think that experience is a facet of why I would be good for this position. I also think I have learned from some of the best. I really do think that knowing that this was a possibility this past year, I turned a little bit into listening mode. And I'm not, you know, and I think that's important, especially if you're gonna become a chair of a board or a leader, even of a committee. And I think that's an important facet, and I hope to bring that as chair. But I do think it's experience. I do think there is a general respect for the community board process. I think that the community board, we are a very important part of a policy ecosystem. We really are. And I think I am very sensitive to that fact. And I recognize that fact of our, how people on the outside, how the electeds, how the public, how they see us, what they think about us. Do they respect us? Do they think we're thoughtful? Do they think we're fair? Do they think we give everyone a chance? And I think why I would be a good chair, or one of the pieces to that, is that I think that those things, I take those things very seriously. I take them very seriously. I like to, when we're done with a meeting, I don't feel like I'm done. Like I'll the next day call up, you know, the chair of a block association, be like, hey, this is happening on your block and we talked about it yesterday. How do you feel? And I think that involvement, that engagement, how seriously I take the job, and I think that will make me a good chair. And also I like working with you, like I like working with these people. I do. I really like it. So I think there's an enjoyability factor too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For those that have the second question, what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on? And how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts?
Yeah, I think, listen, we are a district, sometimes when Jessica is not available, I go to what's called Borough Board. And what it is, the Manhattan Borough President has every month, all the community boards, the chairs, go and they talk about what's going on in the district, and you kind of get a feeling of what's going on around. And sometimes Jessica can't make it, so as first vice chair, I will go in her place, and you listen. I have to say, I think, you know, and there's important stuff going on, you know, I'm not saying there isn't all around Manhattan. But we have some very, very big projects either started or will be starting or in the process. You know, we have NYCHA, we have Port Authority, we have, God willing, Towpound Pier is, you know, that's gonna be a whole other redevelopment. We have Manhattan Cruise Terminal. I was just on a call with the EDC today about the possibility of that. So I think looking ahead for our board is, I think we have to navigate these very big projects. I mean, there's small projects too, but we're very good at those. Our committee work is very good at that stuff. But I think ushering in these big projects with a steady hand, and at the same time, at every step, inviting the public in, having the dialogue with committee and having the dialogue, the bigger community board is very important. So I think that's what our board is looking at ahead to. And I think, I don't wanna say it's unique to our board, because I know all boards are having, have very big projects. We just have so many of them at one time. And, but we have very good committees. I mean, we have Christine on transportation, we have housing, we have you guys on, it's kind of, I don't wanna say it's a little bit of an autopilot. It's not, for sure. It's hard work. But I'm very deferential to the chairs and the work that people do in committee. Mhm.
Are there community issues
Mhm.
you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board?
Oof. Oh, that's so good. That's a great question. Because these big projects are kind of, sometimes they take over the room, right? They take over the oxygen in the room. And I don't wanna keep saying NYCHA, but it's, everyone goes to full board and we know it's gonna be a NYCHA board, right? Like, we just know it's gonna happen. It's interesting because a lot of the emails that I get are smaller things, right? It's like, oh, there's bikes parked on my block. I know Ballsley Park, there's smoking in this park, and how can you do to get all these smokers out of the park? They're very small things. So I don't think that things aren't getting enough attention. I just think that we have to listen to the little things too. Because I do think, though these big projects are obviously supremely important, the little things are what runs people's daily life, day to day. I actually had lunch with a community board member today, and he was saying something really interesting. He was like, I go out my front door every time and I see the same people on the corner, right? And he's like, 2 blocks down, they don't have that. But for me, that's my experience in my neighborhood every day. And that's what I want to fix, or something along that nature. And I think that is important, that as a community board, we don't let the little things slip, because the little things are what I think people take, great interest. It's not little to them. Let's put it that way. It's not little to me. Thank you.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Okay. How would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from differing opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for both new and existing members?
You know what, I think I am an outlier in this situation. I think a lot of people will come here and say, and I've heard this, I don't like drama. I don't like drama. I don't like drama. I think, for lack of a better term, drama, I don't want to say is inevitable, but different personalities are inevitable. People who have different opinions, it's inevitable, right? I also think that I don't shy away from, or I don't think it's even healthy to say, it's okay to have a difference of opinion. It doesn't mean you don't like the person personally, or you can't go out with them afterwards. It's okay not to agree with something, but you have to disagree respectfully. And I think it's a job as a chair or a chair of a committee or other committee to get to a place of yes, to come together and get to a place, I don't want to say compromise, but of some sort of understanding of another person's position without saying, without getting into personal jabs or feeling that another person is unwelcome to have that opinion. I actually think differences of opinion is not unhealthy necessarily. I think I would actually like to invite that. I think some people might be intimidated by some stronger voices on the board, or people who have been here for a long time, and they do have a different opinion. I would say to them, it's okay, speak up. I had someone ask me, I was on land use, or I am on land use, and someone wrote me a note and they're like, is this a stupid question? And they showed me the question, and I said in big letters, no, because, just say the question. Like, we all, you wanna know what you want, everyone wants to know what they wanna, don't let anyone intimidate you. But you bring up a good point, because I do know, unlike, I mean, it's a little bit on WPE, but we have a pretty cohesive unit, but unlike first vice chair or second vice chair, I think the chair does have to navigate personalities, within different, committees a little more than maybe, that I even know. But I think there is a way to do that productively, I really do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Leslie.
Thanks, Terry.
What are your thoughts on current board communications to the public? What are your suggestions for improving communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large, long-term district projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts?
Is Jesse Bodine listening?
Well,
He's
he
gonna-
was, but
Because I always talk to him about this.
I know this is like all going to staff.
Well, you know what, he's gonna, I do feel that we should have a bigger social media presence. I just do. I just think it's, I mean, if we're looking at the mayoral race, I mean, how we don't, I understand, like, staff is short, what do you post? But we need to be out there a little bit. I'm not saying we should say, this is what we feel about this, but like, if we're all at a, if we go to a rally for something, or a picnic, or, you're handing out hats, or some, just a picture. Hey, we're out here, we're at this tent, come talk to us. I think social media is big, and I think we can use it better. I just don't think we use it at all, and I don't blame necessarily staff, because I don't think any community board really some use it more than others, because I look and I scroll, some use it more than others, but I think we can optimize that, I really do, I think that is a really good, especially now. How to get to, this is our meeting, this is the agenda, because we do have a newsletter, but I think just sometimes to get on the algorithm of, people's social media scrolls, because sometimes if they're looking at, an elected, we might sneak into that feed, and then, they'll follow us, and then it just kind of grows from there. So I do think to get the message out more, I would, social media, I think.
Can I follow up?
Yeah. Oh,
So-
sorry.
No, yeah, I'm asking my chair, I can follow up. So what would you, knowing and respecting the very, hard work and packed schedules of our, a community board for staff, what would you suggest as chair to help, either make what you were talking about happen, make it, because we've been talking about this for years.
Yes.
So what would you suggest we could do as a board to make this more successful?
So I think there have to be guidelines. I think the biggest pitfall can be, and what has been talked about is not necessarily a staffing issue, because we can always get someone from the executive board or someone that's, well versed in that to do that. It's kind of what can we agree upon the content we want to put out, like, that we don't kind of, like, we're very balanced, and that something's not leaning one way or the other, or that we're careful. I think we should set like guidelines, and it has to go through like a check process. Like Janine, or I'm just saying Janine, whoever, this is what, is the Steven is the social media guy, and he said this might be a good idea, is this okay? And if it's checked and it's okay, we can't have someone just like, tweeting or whatever, Instagramming at 12 in midnight or 1 a.m. on CB4 thing. But I think if we put in some sort of, at least a framework of guidelines, then I think it will help at least channel what we can put on, or what we're expected to put on. And I also think there's forethought, like, like we had like our, let's see, like if there's an open, I'll say night again, only because there's been a lot of public involvement. That could be a social media, hey, maybe that's bad example. Hey, come to the night, but WP, what we're looking for, public engagement on Manhattan Cruise Terminal, because they're looking now to elongate the piers into the federal waterways. And I was on the phone to like different stakeholders, like, hey, you should come to this meeting, or you should like comment on that. That's something I think that's fairly benign and, not controversial. We're talking about this tonight. If you're interested, send us an email or just come to the meeting. The meeting's at, But I think there has to be a set of guidelines, I really do. And hopefully someone from the community board can help the office out. I'm sure we could find some young, some person who would, do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
That's it?
Leslie. That's it. We appreciate your time.
You said you were trying to, you were gonna put the screws to me. Alright, thank you guys.
Thank
Leslie.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you ask Josephine to come in next?
Josephine?
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was okay to ask her a follow-up question because she's the only candidate.
Yeah,
However, for the other candidates, 'cause
Yeah.
other positions.
understood. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
I think as chair, you might want a little, maybe.
Yes,
further-
sure, more, for sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Josephine, how are
Hi,
you?
Josephine.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, the hot seat.
Yes.
I know, we should have put you like in the corner.
Thank,
That would be in the corner, so that's not good either.
Yeah, exactly.
thank you for coming. And we're gonna ask you to introduce yourself and what role you're applying for, and then we're gonna go around and ask you a question.
Okay, my name is Josephine Ishman. I am currently co-chair of ACES, and I'm applying for first vice chair.
Thank you. So Josephine, I have the first question. Reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year? And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the role of first vice chair at this time?
Okay. I think my performance this past year has been pretty strong. I'm still learning a lot, I think as we all are. Some of the things that we've been able to accomplish on our committee. Well, we had the 60-day shelter notification the mayor was doing, and we wrote letters on that. I would say, the board can't take full credit, but that was eliminated. Free after school is something that we've been advocating for years. We did get it, although it hasn't trickled down to our district, but it's there. We advocated to not have both of our libraries and CB4 closed at the same time. And we worked out the libraries didn't do that. Muhlenberg is open, it's incredibly beautiful space, and now Columbus branch is being worked on. So, in response to your second question, I am applying to this role. A lot of it has to do with what's happening with PS 33 and the NYCHA proposed project. If you would have asked me a year ago if I would be running this position, I would have said no way. I mean, there's just no interest at all. But I think that different times call for different leaders. And I think right now, we really need someone who is comfortable in these different spaces. Whether you're talking to a developer, whether you're talking to someone who lives in the community, someone who is at the school, or any of our electeds. And I feel that I'm able to do that and have been doing that and working very closely with Jessica these last several months on these calls. We just on a call today with Greg and the AG's office. So I'm deep into this work, and I am just very vested in schools. I think everybody here knows how I fight for these kids and our schools. And we have an entire school community that is at risk now. Their future is very uncertain. And I don't want to see that slip away. I have a decade-long relationship with our school superintendent and the principal at the school that started long before I ever came on board. And I think that speaks a lot to my leadership in this neighborhood and in schools in general. And so I feel that this is just something that we need someone who is really going to be tenacious and push for answers. And that's what I've been doing, and I plan on continuing doing.
Thank you.
Alright, thanks, Josephine. So I have the second question, sort of building on the first. What are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on, and how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts? You sort of started.
Yes, yeah, I would definitely say that NYCHA is at the top of the list. On our call today, I mean, we learn something new every couple of days about what's going on. And it's actually extremely concerning that we don't know how this project is being financed. Evictions are going to start happening, and we don't know what's going on. NYCHA has still not had an in-person meeting at the school to tell the school community, this is what's happening, this is what's going down, this is the timeline. So parents are incredibly nervous. And I was at a school meeting the other day, the superintendent had a meeting of all the schools in our district, the elementary schools. And I was talking to parents, I didn't know that they had lived in NYCHA at the time, but one of the questions was, what do you want from your school community? And his parents were saying that we really need support. We are so stressed out about everything that's happening. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's gonna happen to us tomorrow, next month. And so, a lot of it is going to be building trust with this community, and that's what I feel is very important to work on as a board. And we also have other important projects, so I would like to support the new chair on this work. I don't know what her priorities are or his priorities, I don't know who the next chair is going to be. But this is something that, you know, I'm already in the thick of it. I know we have other issues as Port Authority. We have a big construction project that'll be happening on 7th Avenue, digging up the water pipes, and that's going to cause a lot of rodents in the area. That's another quality of life issue. So, we're faced, and of course, homelessness, street homeless. 1 out of every 7 children now is either homeless or has been homeless. It's enormous, and so we have a lot on our plate. And so those are the issues that I think Mr. Gordon.
Are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board?
I think the board has been doing a very good job highlighting all the issues. And we have a very smart board. And we've been doing a lot of work. So but one of the issues that I feel that could use some attention is we talk a lot about affordability in terms of housing, but what about food? Right? I walk by the pantries on 8th Avenue, another one on 13th Street. Huge line wrapped around the block. People can't afford to eat here. Shop in the grocery store. I was in the grocery store the other day, $5 for a can of soup. That's insane. And how is that being allowed to happen? Especially for seniors who maybe can't walk to a Trader Joe's or whatever, and they're using the grocery store, you know, near them. And so that's another concern that, you know, I don't really know where that belongs on our committee, but I think that that's something that we really need to take a look at and get to highlight, talk about.
Hi there. Wait, next question. How would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from different opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for both new and existing members?
It's a great question. I think that in my experience on this board, we have, as I said, we have some very strong and very experienced people who've been in this work for a long time. So some people have very strong voices, right? And then there are other newer members who their voices may not be as strong and they may not be as experienced, but their opinions are still valued. And I think that's definitely going to be a role that first vice chair and the chair are going to have to work on balancing that, these strong voices with the newer voices, because that's how you really get people to be more active. And everyone's term limited now. So we're going to have to get everybody up to speed and make everyone feel like they're welcome and that they belong here. So one of the things that I've done in my committee is that I've begun to identify people who are, you know, offering to do more and asking them to start going to the community education council meetings to sort of get caught up to speed on, you know, other issues that are happening. And then this person's going to come back to our next meeting and to report. And I think that's a way of starting to get people more involved and having their voice heard.
Thank you.
Hi, Josephine. My question is this. What are your thoughts on current board communication to the public? what would you do to improve communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large-term projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts?
Really question. It's hard because we have our newsletter that goes out. We have our full board meetings, we have all of our meetings, right? But somehow I feel like there's still a lack of information going on right now, especially as it relates to NOCHA. And, this is going to be a very hard thing to do. In terms of what's going on with construction, so there are 2 trailers that have been put up on the campus in Chelsea Elliott, and the parents are just, what's going on? Nobody's talking to us, what's happening? So while we're trying to get answers, because a lot of it's like, we're working to get those answers, but then it seems like to everyone on the outside, there's just silence, right? We're not saying anything because we don't know the answer. So, I think we're just gonna have to start reaching out and going to other spaces that, maybe are not related to the community board, like the school, and talking about other initiatives that we're doing. Because it is hard. At the end of the day, what people need right now is to hear from us the most. And I think that, the leadership needs to be in the community more. That's the only way that it's going to happen. It can't sort of be this top-down approach, right? What, you just have to come to us for the information, and that's the only way you're gonna get it. That's not gonna work. We need to have somebody who is willing to go into other spaces, either if it's starting to go to the tenants association meetings, if it's starting to go to some of the clubs around the city, if it's starting to go into the schools and actually talk about the work that we're doing, so we don't seem like we're invisible, or that we're not hearing, or that we're not communicating. So it's gonna be more about people coming to us. We need to get out to the people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
That was so fast. Okay. Thank you.
Can you call and Kevin next?
Yeah.
Thank
Rachel.
you.
Yes, Rachel.
Rachel was here before Kevin?
Yeah, Rachel was here before Kevin, right?
Yes.
Okay, Rachel then, thank you.
Question, are we checking this if anyone, is anyone online, like? one?
Yes, Maria
Okay. But she's
or Tess.
waiting till the end to ask any questions?
She doesn't ask questions until we go into the committee vote, but
Sorry,
but
oh, she's part of the committee.
oh no, she's not a committee. She's just open to the public.
I see.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. Come
Hi,
in, come
I'm
in. Are you good?
You are?
So.
I doing?
No, who are you? Have you met?
My name is Rodney. Rodney's better half. I'm just kidding.
So we're gonna ask you to introduce yourself, who you are, and what position you're applying for, and then we have a set of questions we're going to start off.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Rachel Lee. I'm applying for the position of second vice chair on CB4, and I'm Rodney's better half, other half on co-chairing the view committee. That's why he was with me after that initial hurdle.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, I want to start off with the first question.
Okay.
Reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year? And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the role of second vice chair at this time?
This past year, I think, was a period of rapid fire growth for me within CB4. And that was all welcome because, CB4 is my favorite activity in my current life. Just ask my contacts, they'll tell me. But I was happy to step into the role of co-secretary when there was a vacancy, because there was a need, and I was happy to fulfill that duty. At the same time, as I mentioned, I was co-chair of the board engagement working group, which we did actually produce a lot of concrete deliverables, like the board buddies, the report, the survey that you saw, and we're currently working on finalizing the new member toolkit. In addition to that, thanks to, co-chairs of different committees embodying the spirits and takeaways of the board engagement working group, I'm, very fortunate to have had different leadership experiences this past year. So whether it's supporting co-chairs behind the scenes or during committee meetings. Actually for Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use, I led the discussion on the Avenue Casino presentation, which was, it was potentially a controversial topic, but I think I managed it pretty well. And I also got to spearhead some personal initiatives that really mattered a lot to me. I did the Know Your Rights initiative at the beginning of the year. We also hosted our inaugural API month celebration. Shout out to Alice Wong here. So yeah, this past year has been an exciting time for me, and I'm excited to crank it up a notch by being your next second vice chair. I would not have stepped up to that challenge. Going to the second part of your question, why I think I'd be qualified for it. I would not have signed up for it if I didn't think I could do the position justice. I think it would be in some respects a continuation of my current role as co-secretary, right? The co-secretary's role, I see it as a communicator of CB4's business to the public. I see the role of the second vice chair as a communicator of our priorities now to the city. So I see it as a continuation, but as a broadening of my current role. And I'm happy to be that kind of staunch advocate for current needs and priorities, especially in light of all the changes that are happening citywide and also federally.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Rachel, so my question is, what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on, and how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts?
The first part of that again, can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
What are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on?
Working on. So in studying the role of second vice chair, I actually went through our budget task force recordings. I read through the statements for the past 7 years. 7 because it's a lucky number, but also that's how far I could go to their very long documents. And I know that there has been a consistent theme. For the past 7 years, our top 3 priorities have been consistently affordable housing, public safety, and some version of livability, cleanliness of our environment. So I understand those to be kind of longstanding issues that will continue to be a top priority for our district, but obviously with different nuances. I actually see for talking about current issues, what I mentioned earlier about kind of the overall external changes, I think we have to take that into account. What I mean by that is, as we've already been in discussions in this year's budgeting cycle, there are federal funding cuts that are affecting us in a local level. So with the impending, mayoral election in New York City, there will be likely changes in administration priorities. Those are things, already our budgeting process is looking a little differently this year. As you might have noticed, it's by agency, right? So we have to be adaptable to these changes. I'm already, again, learning this, and I think, by having to learn this from scratch, it's actually given me a lot of perspective and like breaking down the process, how that can be most accessible to CB4. So again, whether it's ongoing priorities and issues and kind of dealing with them, navigating them in today's climate, I'm happy to step in and add perspective.
Are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board?
Yeah, the one thing I love about MCB4 is we are a busy board. We're a very effective board. We do touch on many issues. I'm not going to pretend to know every single one of them throughout our history. But I think just again, focusing on today, I believe immigration, whatever, effects we're seeing. So as you already know from the news, yesterday we saw mass enforcement activities downtown. This is something that we're seeing in different cities. I've already mentioned this early on in the year, but we're seeing it more imminently and intimately in our neighborhoods. So I myself being an immigrant and representing, our community comprising of many other immigrant populations, I think that's something we can continue to advocate for. I'm happy to spearhead another Know Your Rights initiative. I also made a point to raise something about gender equity. So I again, kind of continuing with the themes of what are some external things that we should take note of as CB4. I think gender, racial equity, again, under attack. I know we've been staunch, steady advocates of these issues for our community members, but I think it deserves greater light. As part of the Health and Human Services budgeting priorities this year, I did mention that one of the line items should specify gender affirming care. So these are things I'm happy to, again, I stay close to current affairs, and I'm happy to bring that perspective to CB4.
Hi, Rachel.
I do now.
How would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from different opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for new and existing board members?
Yeah. So number one, read our board engagement working group report. No, but thank you for the question. I think with an ever increasing, polarizing, contentious environment, that is more important. Personally, how I would accomplish that is I would like to first listen and also understand different positions. And I think that's what has helped me be more effective in contributing to different committees and CB work effectively is I don't have a personal agenda. I believe in compromise and I believe in facts. So first of all, I think it is making an assumption right now that we're entertaining it, that we are for conflicts or drama. I think the board engagement report says that we actually have a lot more in common and we have a lot of collaborative energy in CB4, but to the extent that there are differing views, they should be different. And I think I have the ability to bridge understandings. I am a glass half full kind of person. I'm a can do kind of person than shooting down because I'm triggered by certain words or a concept or how a certain project, for example, is characterized on the news, right? I believe in what we are seeing in our community. I believe in the community members who come and speak on certain issues. I also believe in our ability to engage the community better, which is something that I would love to talk about if there's a question about that, to understand the positions maybe outside of what we're hearing in our meetings, because not everyone has the ability and the availability to show up for our meetings and voice their opinions. So yes, I am all ears and I am a believer of healthy compromise.
Okay, ready for that question, Ish? You can totally. What are your thoughts on current board communication to the public? What would you do to improve communication, outreach of board progress and advocacy on large term district projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts?
Okay, so I'll answer that tied to my position, especially because I am going for second vice chair. And actually, the budgeting process is a year-long process. We are seeing it at the start of the year when we're drafting responses to the preliminary budget. We are seeing it at the end of the year right now when we're issuing our district statement and budget requests. But it's actually a year-long process with at least 2 opportunities for public comment, public involvement, right? So what I was thinking is I would love to facilitate that process and make it more accessible. And what I mean by that is within CB4, first, before we communicate it and engage the public, we have to also be on the same page, right? I would welcome the opportunity to work with the co-chairs more frequently. I will be sitting on the executive committee, so I will have the opportunity to have touch points throughout the year to see if there are any budget priorities or needs that need to be considered, or if they're having interactions with city agencies that would help our process down the road. And then based on us relatively being on the same page, of course, I wouldn't be just going out there, talking about what I believe is best. Based on our unified position, I would love the opportunity to go engage with the public. One thing that came to mind, and whoever becomes second vice chair, don't steal my idea. I'm just kidding. Great ideas must be shared. I was thinking, we have existing opportunities. We have many CB4 members that are already very involved in their own groups, right? Whether it's like, associations, organizations. But one opportunity is I thought about the 9th Avenue Street Fair that happens mid-year. I mean, how great would it be if we have a booth? We all wear our CB4 caps, right? And have a little, QR code, just like, I think, the ability to build trust. Because like I said, I think this upcoming year, or currently already, we are facing a lot of challenges to what we hold, important, and I really think that better community engagement, strengthening our trust with the community is important early on in the year, not just when there are big major projects, big contentious issues that we're about to talk for a 3-hour long evening meeting. So I would love to engage with the community early on in the year and throughout the year as much as possible.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Oh,
That's all the questions we have.
No follow-ups?
Now we're keeping it the same for all candidates. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You let Kevin know. That's
Yes,
next.
will do.
Thank
Thank
you.
Next meeting.
Kevin is last, yeah?
Yes. And then there will be Jesse's, but.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Hi, welcome. How are you?
Pretty good yourselves?
Good.
Good. Good to see everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna ask you to introduce yourself and what role you're applying for, and then all of us have a preset questions we're gonna ask you.
Great. My name is Kevin Collins. I'm applying for the role of co-secretary.
Thank you. And I have the first question. Reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year? And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the recording secretary role at this time?
Well, thanks for the question. And again, thanks for having me here. The last year, I really enjoyed being on the board. I like dealing with community issues. I'm a people person. I like talking with people, interacting with folks. I like to learn. And going to different committee meetings and sitting through them, you can learn a lot, but not just when you're in the committee meeting, but if you know the issues you're dealing with. I like to do site visits and go there and maybe just read up on different things, or if you can't, talk to different block associations. Can we kind of read the second half of that slide?
Sure. And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the recording secretary role at this time?
Great. For in no particular order, I talked with Katie and Rachel, the current co-secretaries. I spoke to Jesse about the position. And with Jesse's perspective of needing somebody who is very detail oriented and can focus on stuff, make sure you're gonna be there and follow through and see it to the end and commit to the whole year, which I can. And if I make a commitment, I live up to it. I think this year is gonna be important for all the community boards across the city, but especially including CB4. Why? Because term limits are gonna start to hit. And so the institutional knowledge that folks have are gonna come into place. How do we capture that? So I was just at a training the other day for the Manhattan Borough President's Office about different ways that community boards are using different structures to capture data. And it's not necessarily about one particular thing. They're using one particular program in this community board. But the idea of it, I talked to Jesse about that a little bit. And so my job, I think, is to work with the whole board, the executive committee, Jesse, make things easy, capture what we can. But one of the things I'd like to look at doing is there a way, when we pass the different resolutions or the different letters we send out, kind of be able to encapsulate that by some search function that we can look at, okay, this is broken down committee, but this is also maybe broken down by topic. And then is there a way that we can track what may need follow-up? So let's say we wrote another on a particular topic in March of this year. What happens from that letter? Does it need implementation? Does it need follow-up? Is there some way we can track it to see how's it going? So aspects like that, I have ideas about how we try to look at things, learn from that and keep them going and solidify it, but also other ways to be creative and improve things and make it more user-friendly and to be responsive to members of the board and the community.
Thank you.
So, okay, so pretty good. My question is, what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on? And how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts?
That's a good
As
question.
you review.
I'm on the budget committee this year, so, to some degree, I think one of the most pressing issues, I would say, at the start, is to the community members. And, what the community came back this year, I mean, the full analysis in the report is not written, so I'm gonna give that caveat. But, the top three items came across as concerns about safety and interaction with the police. The second being affordable housing, and the third being about quality of life. So I think if you look at that as a mixture, folks are concerned that when I walk out of where I live or heading to the work, or I come into the community, am I feeling safe? What's going on? All the affordable housing, we can list off a litany of what's going on in construction and in terms of quality of life. And that involves different city agencies and different committees. And in terms of my background, I was executive director for a number of years, dealing with multiple complex issues, time sensitive, and multiple stakeholders. So I like to be able to look at issues, break them down to their internal components, look at the pros and cons, figure out a strategy, what's our end goal, work backwards, what's a calendar to try to achieve certain things, who are our allies that we can work with. So I think with that framework, I could try to be useful to working with the other members of the executive committee, and the whole board as the full membership.
Thanks. Are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board?
Question. Again, I would have a couple of concepts about that. One, I would always seek out, if we're here, I'm a member of the community board, the community board is here to represent for the community. I would see what the community thinks. I'm not here solely to represent myself. I'm here to interact with and represent the community. So I would defer to listen to the community, whether that's at meetings, or going to ask the community, of course, the statement of district needs. But one issue that I've been thinking about is, I'm on HHS, housing, health and human services. And I'm speaking with the co-chairs, Joe and Maria, getting a little guidance from Jesse. So one thing that I came to talk to them about last month and try to flourish out is see if we can amplify a little bit more on health issues. But I also just still want to say, here's an idea, you do it. I'm gonna try to take a lead on it, work with other members in the community that could manifest itself in terms of a survey. Looking at what the needs are of the community, what people might think, say, hey, we need more education about this particular issue, or mobile van units coming out once a month into particular areas, addressing particular issues. Talking to different city agencies or healthcare facilities within our community board district. So I think if we can do that, I mean, that's not, of course, a course of time, and we can do that, I think that could help parts of the community.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, how would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from differing opinions and debates, while also creating a welcoming environment for both new and existing members?
I think I would start by trying to lead by example. I shouldn't ask other people to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So, whether it's seeing someone on the street or a committee meeting or a full board, I see a number of city members, outside of the committee board as well. But in the committee structure, because it's more of the committee structure than the full board, it's more engagement, dialogue in the committees. Discussion is helpful. There should be a safe space and open space for that. And I think we all lose if people don't feel comfortable speaking up. I sincerely believe the community loses because somebody could have an idea that we haven't thought about. And if they don't feel comfortable sharing it, we never even get the chance to analyze it. So, and I'll share with you, I myself felt that, a while ago, as an oncoming board member. Without getting specifics, I was in a meeting and I think it went a little bit. So I waited till afterwards and I woke up and spoke to the person and listened and tried to understand where they were coming from, put myself in their shoes and try to explain where I was coming from. And I think it cleared the air. And I'm happy to say now, we actually, we see each other in the community, we interact in a different way, so it all worked out. But I'm a firm believer that whether it's in the workplace or the community group or wherever, there should be a safe space for dialogue.
Thank you. Hey, Kevin.
Hey,
Okay, last question. What are your thoughts on current board communications to the public? What would you do to improve communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large-term district projects and smaller day-to-day community projects?
I've thought about that. Well, for a while, and most recently, by most recently. On the budget committee, folks asked me, Roberta, Jesse asked me to help lead the community outreach. So, it was a team effort. And we worked together, it was great to work with the teams. I think we went from having just 100 folks respond to this survey to over 560, which from what I'm told, that's the most ever in CB4's history. And I treated that as an organizing assignment. What I mean by that is engaging folks. So if you send out, you'll get one level if you send out a generic email, but like personally reached out to board members, that personally reached out to, I think over 150 community block, just to get 150 community block associations, 10 associations, etc. And then there was some emails back and forth and a few phone calls back. So I would look at ways, but we also have to be cognizant the community board has a finite number of staff. And they only have so many hours to do. We have to figure out ways where we can help them. So I want to be cognizant of having big ideas, but then can that be implemented, right? But with that, if that can be done and I can help do it. Then I was mentioning last night at the budget committee meeting, the use of social media, it's the world we live in, and that's something that I think we could do. I think CB4 sent out a survey maybe half a year ago for thoughts. That's one of the thoughts I put down about spreading more. And it doesn't have to be a Pulitzer Prize winning. No, being serious. It could just be bullet points or short, sentences or a paragraph or two, like, hey, this is going on. And I think that would really potentially resonate with the community, because if there's a vacuum, then that just tends to lead itself to like people either being upset in general because I don't know what's going on. I think everybody's sitting around not doing anything, or conversely, rumors and innuendos. Neither one of those two is a good thing. So I would like to try to figure out ways, and if co-secretary can, of even just succinctly, I don't know, a little blurb on the website at the last meeting, that there's, or ask the co-chairs of the committees, even just 3 sentences at this meeting of the land use committee, we discussed this, or we did that. And again, it might not be, New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, but it might just be bullet points, but that might be useful. But to figure out the way that we can accomplish that.
Thank you.
That's all the questions we have for you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for
Really
having me.
appreciate it.
And thank you folks for your time in doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your
Thanks,
evening.
thank you. Yeah. Good night.
Thanks again. Before we go to the next agenda item, do you mind if I take a bathroom break?
Yes, well, I wrote you, because we have to go into closed session next. we do have to read Jesse's.
Oh my gosh,
response to us.
I'm so sorry.
We do have one more candidate, Jesse Greenwald, who is applying to be on our second vice chair. Jesse had requested a questions because he did have a medical procedure. So we do have his answers. I think we might be good since we already asked specific questions. We'll ask the question again, read his answer, each of us.
Sure.
And then when we go on break, we can definitely go on
Thank
break. Okay. So the question was, reflecting back, how would you evaluate your performance on the board this past year? And why do you believe you are a strong candidate for the role at this time? Jesse's response is, reflecting on this past year, I am proud of the work I have contributed to this board, particularly in my role as co-chair of transportation. I believe I have helped foster a collaborative, respectful, and productive environment. I have made it a priority to celebrate the extraordinary efforts of our members, whether canvassing the district, bringing photos and presentations to educate the group, drafting letters, or developing subject matter expertise to pass down to future committee members. The tone of a committee is set by its leadership, and I am proud that ours is a space where people feel valued, supported, and empowered to do meaningful work. Substantively, I have also worked hard to ensure our committee's written responses are thoughtful, well-researched, and impactful. I drafted approximately half of the transportation letters issued this year, including on challenging and high-profile topics such as e-bike enforcement, banning non-essential helicopter flights, criminal summonses for bike infractions, daylighting, and improved busways. These issues were not always easy, but I believe our committee produced recommendations that were balanced and actionable. This year was also one of transition for me as I joined Chelsea Land Use after nearly 4 years on PLB. Given that COE was navigating one of the most complex and sensitive matters before the board, which included NYCHA, Fulton, and Elliott Chelsea, I have approached my first meeting there with humanity, listening far more than speaking, and weighing in only when I believe my voice added value or reflected a perspective not otherwise expressed. Although it predates this past year, I am also particularly proud of my work founding the Cannabis Working Group. At a time when the regulatory landscape was evolving quickly and illegal cannabis shops were proliferating across the district, I became a subject matter expert on a brand new era of law and policy, created the board's application questionnaire, and helped MCB4 establish a thoughtful, principled framework for evaluating cannabis applications. Just as importantly, I work directly with applicants, helping them engage with the community, strengthening their business plans, and demonstrate that they have both the capacity to succeed and the commitment to follow the rules. This work helped bring clarity to uncertain moments, supporting equity-focused entrepreneurs, and ensure that MCB4 was not just reacting to change, but shaping it. I'm also eager to deepen my community with central board functions beyond transportation or my other committees. In particular, Christine has admirably handled the budget process of our committee, but I'm eager to develop a fuller command of the budget request process. I want to broaden my perspective across all committees, strengthen inter-committee coordination, and ensure that the budget process reflects a holistic understanding of district needs, not just the narrow lens of any one issue area. I believe I am a strong candidate for second vice chair because I have demonstrated an ability to build consensus, work hard, and continuously grow. I understand how to guide a room, how to synthesize diverse viewpoints into a unified message, and how to follow through on the work. In other words, I am ready to grow into a role that supports the entire board and its mission. I would be honored to serve as second vice chair.
Good. And what are the most pressing issues the community board is currently working on? And how can your personal and professional experience support these efforts? Jesse's reply: the community board has and will continue to face major long-term challenges, including the future of the Port Authority bus terminal, the NYCHA Fulton Elliott redevelopment, the operation of the Manhattan cruise ship terminal, the need for deeply affordable housing, and ongoing concerns about public safety. These are complex, high-impact issues that will shape the West Side for decades. But in my experience on the board, the most pressing issue is often defined by the community member who shows up that month, whether it's a dog run, a broken curb, a sidewalk shed that's been up for 3 years, or a dangerous bike lane conflict on their block. So one of the things MCB4 does best is approach each concern with the same seriousness and respect. When a neighbor takes the time to come to us, their issue is the most urgent issue in the world, and part of our responsibility is to solve problems at both scales. The once in a generation projects and the day-to-day quality of life frustrations that make a neighborhood feel livable. My personal and professional background equips me to support that mission on both fronts. As a lawyer who investigates workplace misconduct and navigates sensitive, high-stake disputes, I am trained to listen carefully, separate emotion from fact, and help stakeholders with opposing perspectives reach resolution. My years on the Transportation Committee, Business License and Permits Committee, and as a founder of the Cannabis Working Group, have also given me experience in managing public processes, drafting policy positions, and balancing community needs.
Question 3, are there community issues you believe deserve greater attention or visibility from the board? Jesse's response. I know we talk about it every year and continue to see it in our survey responses. Public safety and mental health remain among the most urgent concerns from our residents. I recognize that the board is already engaged in this work through the Housing, Health and Human Services Committees, updates from the local precincts, reports from the Midtown North and Midtown South precinct community councils. That said, I believe we can strengthen our impact by both intentionally connecting these efforts and tracking how citywide mental health, public safety initiatives are working on the ground in our district. There are a number of programs currently in operation, such as Be Heard, Behavioral Health Emergency Assistance Response Division, Safe Operations Support, SOS teams, and the mayor's expanded initiative to support individuals with serious mental illness living in shelters or on the streets. There could be some value in creating a task force working group within CB4 that focuses specifically on the intersection of mental health, public safety, and street level condition. Its role would not be to replace committee work, but to coordinate, bringing together information from precinct reports, social service agencies, outreach teams like Be Heard and SOS, and other city initiatives. It could track outcomes specific to particular problem blocks, identify gaps, and ensure that community concerns are translated into clear recommendations and follow-up.
Okay, question 4. How would you help foster a collaborative and inclusive environment among board members, such as resolving conflicts that arise from different opinions or debates, while also creating a welcoming space for both new and existing members? Answer. First, as the tonsillectomy pain grows more acute and the Percocet starts to take effect, let me begin by saying that I have found that a little bit of humor can go a long way in making people feel welcome, lowering temperatures, resolving conflicts, and creating an inclusive environment. As I said in my answer to the first question, I believe I have helped foster a collaborative, respectful, and productive environment, both on transportation and on my other committees. I strive to make sure that every member feels heard and ownership is shared. For example, any member of our committee who wishes to speak on a particular topic is typically heard before either co-chair shares our opinions. And although we often achieve consensus on transportation, I'm aware that groupthink can encounter national or productive decision-making. And so I believe that it is equally important, if not more so, that we respect and leave ample room for differing opinions. Again, to borrow from my answer to the first question, I have made it a priority to celebrate the extraordinary efforts of our members, and I am proud that transportation has consistently been a space where members feel valued, supported, and empowered to do meaningful work.
The 5th question, what are your thoughts on current board communication to the public? What are your suggestions for improving communication outreach of board progress and advocacy on large long-term district projects and smaller day-to-day community efforts to the public? Jesse's response is, I would love to see CB4 to get an Instagram and or Twitter (X) account. Community members use social media apps to find out what's going on in their neighborhood, and I do think we would see an increase in turnout to our meetings if people were more aware of the topics up for discussion on any given night. If we had a dedicated board member assigned to posting meeting agendas, community events, significant letters passed, etc., to social media, I think that could go a long way.
Thank you, Jesse, for providing your written answers. At this time, our committee is going to go into closed discussion and we'll be back shortly to go back to the public with our committee. Thanks, everyone.
For no reason, right?
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us as we were conveying our private sessions. For all of the candidates, Leslie as chair did get quorum as majority to advance to the nomination process for the elections in November or December, I should say. Katie also received majority votes. Josephine also received majority votes. Rachel received majority votes. Jesse also received majority vote, and Kevin as well. All of the candidates that we have spoken with or have read the written statements meet the qualifications for the positions that they are applying for. And so this nomination committee recommends all of the candidates to move forward in the November and December elections. Thank you, everyone. Jesse, I have it all written down and I will send it to you after the meeting. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.